The Winnipeg Blue Bombers are back in the win column. Good morning, afternoon, and evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back as the Winnipeg Blue Bombers defeat the Toronto Argonauts by a score of 40-31. So the Bombers get the win, still give up 30 plus points doing so. Had a very good first half for the most part, very okay second half, not absolutely god-awful, but certainly could be better. So let's get right into this. So Bombers, for our pregame, Chris Streveler is starting this game. Collaros is out with a neck injury. Eric Lofton goes in as he is healthy. Vanderpool goes out. Lofton goes in at left tackle. Of course, all of last year played right tackle, but Randolph has done great in that spot, so we're not moving him. And yeah, let's get right into this. It's country night at Princess Auto Stadium, and afterwards there was going to be some fireworks. Which were interesting fireworks, but we'll get to that. First quarter, Bombers start with the ball and nearly lose it on the return. That's called foreshadowing, ladies and gentlemen, as they have a bit of a miscommunication and the ball comes up, but they thankfully get on it this time. Bombers would push it down. Castillo goes for a 45-yard field goal, and it hits the upright, so it's going to be 0-0 still. Argos try to go on their drive. James Vaughters would get a nice sack for Winnipeg. And then Argos forced to punt a little bit later. Streveler would then, as he's trying to get this drive going, he goes for a pass. It gets deflected and turns into a pick six. It's a touchdown Toronto, 7-0 as the conversion is good. Streveler threw for 3 interceptions. I have a bit of mixed opinions on some of them. This first one, not his fault. That's a deflected pass. As much as that's going to go against Streveler in terms of his record, or you're going to really say that a pass that gets deflected like that is his fault? I really don't think so. So, is what it is. Bad bounce at the end of the day. Got to keep moving forward, though. However, right after Toronto gets this, we get a kickoff return touchdown. Trey Vavel with his first touchdown of the Canadian Football League. And it would not be his only touchdown tonight. Trey Vavel was the MVP of this game. He was brilliant. We were able to get a couple blocks up, but a lot of that was him just finding a way. Trey Vavel was incredible. Conversion is good. 7-7 game. We'd go back and forth a little bit before the Bombers would push. The Argos would then go offside, giving Winnipeg the first down. Bombers would keep that pressure going, and then Chris Streveler would run it into the end zone and make it a 14-7 game as the conversion is good. So that would be kind of your end of the first quarter. Overall, pretty strong quarter for the Bombers. They come out 14-7 out of that first quarter, 14 points in one quarter. You cannot complain about that for Winnipeg. I would start by going back and forth a little bit to start the second quarter. Bombers would receive a punt. I thought there was a no yards call on this. Like, I thought they missed that, but I guess they ruled it wasn't. I just thought he was a little close, not gonna lie. Bombers would try to push it a little bit, but can't really get much of anywhere. Argos then got going on their drive, and Lyram Haralahu hits a 44-yard field goal, making this 14-10 for Winnipeg. Bombers would try to get it down. Castillo responds with a field goal of his own, making it 17-10. I don't actually have the distance written down here. So that would be a 46-yarder. I just searched it up on the on the Score app. So 46-yarder for Castillo. And then the Bombers would put a little bit of pressure, and they would get a sack, force a fumble, and Person picks that up and goes into the end zone for a touchdown. I don't even know his first name. He's our backup defensive end. Behind James Vaughters. But Person goes in. Touchdown for him. Convert is good. 24-10 Winnipeg. It's funny. It's one of those things where I thought the defense, was it perfect? No. But they really were able to be a bit more aggressive today. This is kind of what I've been saying. My complaints these last 3 games where I'm like, okay, a little bit more aggressive. You have to be a little more assertive. They need to assert themselves. They asserted themselves tonight. Willie Jefferson had a night, and we'll get on to that. But this is one of those things that you get from that. Sack, forced fumble, touchdown from it, 24-10 Bombers. On the conversion, there'd be a legal formation on the Argos. That penalty is declined. And so it would kind of go back and forth a little bit. And then when the Argos would go to punt, Trey Vavel did it once before, does it again. Punt return touchdown this time. So no one wins $1 million as it wasn't a kickoff return touchdown. But second touchdown of the game for Trey Vavel. The conversion is good. It's 31-10 Winnipeg. Winnipeg is starting to run away with this game at this point. Argos, though, would hit, I think, a 25-yarder field goal to end the half. 31-13 Winnipeg at halftime. Winnipeg would put up 14 points in the first, 17 in the second. They would hold the Argos to 13 points. And I think if they just got one quarter, they were able to really shut out Toronto. They could have been, I don't like giving up 30-plus points in a game. So I would hope that in the future, maybe that's something they can work on, is just a little bit more consistency there. Argos would start with the ball after halftime. Argonauts pushing a bit. Parker would go down. Argos would hit a touchdown. The conversion is good. I believe that was for DeMonte Coxey. It might have been, although that might have been the one in the fourth quarter. I can't remember. Converse is good, making this 31-20 for Winnipeg. James Vaughters would get hurt, although we would see him back in the lineup a little bit later, so good to see that he's okay there. Bombers drive would try to get something, but they just go nowhere. And I'm kind of thinking this is a bit of a weaker quarter. Last game in Winnipeg had a good first half against Calgary, even though they were leading, even though they were like trailing. I thought it was a decent first half. Not great, but it was serviceable. But they fell apart after that. So I was like, we can't take our foot off the gas. And then Bonds would then take a defensive pass interference in the end zone, and the ball would then be placed on the 1. And then, my God, the defense stood like a brick wall. Wouldn't allow that ball into the end zone. Really good stop on first down. I thought that was the more impressive one, as he kind of gets tripped up a little bit on second down, but that's enough. The Argos are forced to kick a field goal here, making this 31-23. I said, that is an absolute win. If you're on your own 1-yard line and you're forcing them to kick a field goal, I'm not going to lie. Maybe it's just me. Toronto was horrible on short yardage tonight. Like, not only that, there was a time earlier in the game, it was 2nd and 1, and they went for it on second down. Just like literally like a tush push, essentially. Just trying to just kind of run it up the middle. Bombers weren't giving them an inch. It got to 3rd down. It's 3rd and 1. And the Argos didn't even have the confidence to get 1 yard. Dinwiddie did not believe in his own team to get that. Now, I understand why he didn't, in the sense of Toronto hadn't been doing that all night. But it's just not a good look if you're 3rd and 1 and you're punting. I understand they were deep in their own zone, but still, in my opinion, there's never an excuse that you can't get 1 yard, even when it's the most predictable play. Just my opinion, but is what it is. Not my problem. Bombers would then push. There'd be a nice pass for Nick Dembski, and then Sergio Castillo hits a 49-yard field goal, making this 34-23 for Winnipeg. And this is where we get to something interesting, something we usually don't see in the video, which is, for those not aware, my brother who did a year of creative communications at Red River College. He's going into broadcasting and whatnot. He's been doing his work with Bonfire Sports and whatnot. He's been doing a great job with that. I'm very proud of him for that. Was honored at tonight's Bomber game with the Bob Irving Scholarship. So here's a clip of that. Not gonna lie, had a bit of a proud brother moment there. Was very happy for him. And so, yeah, good job, Zach. And so getting back to the game, James Vaughter's back in the lineup, as I said. And then the Bombers on defense, Willie Jefferson, 2 straight plays in a row, knocks it down. Willie Jefferson, he's a tall individual. He's got one hell of a wingspan, and he uses it to get the job done. Willie Jefferson was an absolute pest in the backfield for Toronto. He was a problem for them. Argos would then try to keep it going. They would take actually an offensive pass interference penalty, and the Argos would then punt and grab a single, making this 34-24 for Winnipeg. Game's getting a little tighter than I'd like going into the fourth quarter. Bombers push. Sergio Castillo hits a 33-yard field goal, making this 37-24 for Winnipeg. Argos drive the field the other way. Touchdown. Convert is good. 37-31 for Winnipeg. I don't know why I wrote Toronto, but they got the touchdown. And then kickoff. Quentin Cooley doesn't grab the fucking ball. He touches it. At this point, I'm literally thinking he touches it and he doesn't have it, and it looks like he's struggling to go down. At that point, I'm like, kick it out of bounds at your foot. You'll have possession if you do that. You're the last person to touch it. It's a dumb CFL rule, but take advantage of the rules so you can. Should have just kicked it out of bounds. You know? Like, seriously, full soccer swing. Like, kick that thing out of bounds. But he doesn't. We lose the ball. That was a stupid play. Stupid. I'm sorry. Especially when you have a scare earlier in the game like that. If that doesn't wake you up, like, I like Quentin Cooley as a running back. I really do. It was a rough night for him. It was. But, however, Quentin Cooley has someone to thank. Quentin Cooley has someone he could go up to and be like, thank you so much for bailing me out. Otherwise, this would look even so much worse than me. And that man is Tony Jones, who would jump in and get the interception, preventing Toronto from scoring from great field position. So Quentin Cooley, go thank Tony Jones. That brother saved you. So the Bombers would push it down. Gabe Wallace would take a procedure penalty. Wasn't happy about that, as I think either last game or the last game they played at home, Gabe Wallace took a procedure penalty. Just the last 2 that I remember them taking, it was Gabe Wallace both times. So remember the count. I know the struggle. I do. It's harder than people think. It is what it is, though. Procedure penalties are not the ones we want to be taking. Only 5 yards, though. Brady Oliveira would get he would get a pass, and he would get that downfield for 19 yards, making that 5-yard penalty for Wallace not matter too much. There'd be offsetting penalties after the play, as Winnipeg would get an unnecessary roughness penalty, and Toronto would get a face mask. So those were offset. Nothing comes out of that. And then Streveler, who's been throwing a lot of short passes, little runs, this and that. It's kind of the bread and butter of Chris Streveler. He's not a great passer, but he does okay if he's doing relatively short ones. Gets a little greedy. He gets a little ambitious, oversteps his bounds, tries to throw a big pass into the end zone, which is not his strengths. That is where Zach Collaros is much better. And he throws a pick. And now, after that big drive, we come out with nothing, which really stung because we really needed points there. Throws a pick in the end zone. Ball is placed on the 30-yard line. Toronto about to start their drive. However, thankfully, Willie Jefferson is still having his game. His 3rd knockdown of the night. Again, he's just being a problem. He's making Nick Arbuckle's job a lot harder. The Argos would then be forced to punt. Streveler back on the job. He's going to try to go out there and get it done. Streveler had no options on some of these, and he gets sacked. And this is where I'm like, guys need to get open. This is where the fact that we have not the strongest receiving core kind of is showing a little bit here, where guys are just not doing what you got to get open. You got to make yourself an option. And so I know some people were a little upset about the play calling from Jason Hogan. I didn't think really anything positively or negative about it. I thought it was just kind of average. Certainly not the reason we lost, but also I don't think it was particularly phenomenal, but hopefully we see a little bit better, but it is what it is. Sheehan would then have a punt, and it would get stopped. Grant would get stopped at the 24-yard line. And at this point, there's not that much time left. Argo's got to go for it. It's all or nothing. They go for it on 1st and 2nd down. They can't get anything. 3rd down on their own 24-yard line. and they fail. 1:33 left to go. At this point, if you're Winnipeg, run that ball 2 plays and either get the first down or kick the field goal. That's exactly what they do as Sergio Castillo hits a 26-yard field goal. Has to redo the kick as we had too many people on the line of scrimmage, but that's fine as he then hits a 31-yard field goal. That will be the one that counts. 40-31 Winnipeg. We would then kick off. Grant is tackled at the 36 on the return. 30 seconds left in the game for Toronto. They would go for a very, very long pass, and it could be completed. And immediately I see this, and I'm like, oh, that's like the most obvious offensive pass interference at all. There's no call or anything. And I'm thinking, O'Shea better challenges. That is brutal. And it's funny because this is the nice thing about having Zach in the press box. I can kind of get a little bit of information. For those who don't know, John Hodge, reporter for 3 Down Nation, who covers the Bombers, is apparently very subdued. He's very, very professional in everything, which I expect from John Hodge. And apparently when he's in the press box or whatever, as much as he's, like hoping for the Bombers, he's a Bomber fan, he's very much able to put his bias aside and whatnot. Apparently, when there was no flag there, he just threw his hands up in the air like, what is going on? O'Shea challenges for offensive pass interference, and it is ruled that it is totally offensive pass interference. And I said, that is OPI all day long. The call on the field is overturned, and at that point, Toronto just can't get anything going, and that's it. The Bombers win 40-31. Winnipeg gets it done. It's fireworks night, as well as the country night, and they do a bit of a fireworks show after, which kicks up near the end where there's a bit, but I'm not going to lie, it was really weird. You get kind of like a couple fireworks, and they'd be kind of like sitting there for a while. Nothing would happen. It was kind of a lame fireworks show. I'm going to be real. Like, the Winnipeg Gold Eyes have that shit figured out pretty good. So, whoever ran the fireworks at the Bombers, you might want to go ask the Gold Eyes down the block about that because they have that figured out really well. But at the end of the day, I just wanted my Bombers to win. They did. There are certainly issues with this game. We are playing Calgary next week. We're going to need to have some more of that stuff figured out. Hopefully, we're playing PJ Walker because he's not nearly as good, and Ottawa beat him. So, if PJ Walker plays next week and Winnipeg loses when Ottawa beat fucking Calgary with that, I'm going to be pissed. As that's a big game. Obviously, if we look at the standings here, Calgary, they are 5-3. We are 4-3. If Winnipeg beats Calgary, at that point, we will then be tied with them at a record of 5-4. Calgary would have the tiebreaker with us, but it would really tighten up that West a little bit more, give us a little bit more separation from BC. As I think the hope this year is that most likely BC, if we can make sure we stay in those top 3 spots in the West, then hopefully that means that BC goes out east, because I can't see Toronto or Ottawa doing it unless maybe Chad Kelly comes back and miraculously everything turns around for Toronto, but we'll see. At the end of the day, Winnipeg with the win. Very, very pleased. I want to know what your guys' thoughts were in the comment section down below of tonight's game. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. And yeah, so like, share, and subscribe if you haven't already. Peace, love, and positivity to all you wonderful people at home, and I'll see you guys next time.